It's been a little while. Been a little busy traveling and stuff with work and working on myself, and just got too busy. And but I did get some new gear, new microphone, new interface. Pretty excited about that. Had some technical difficulties getting that going. Learning new electronics is always fun and can take some time. So finally got it going, so I'm super excited and am probably going to shoot a handful of videos today that I've been really waiting to shoot and really thinking about. This one's going to be on recovery and all the different options, and I think it's perfect because I just got back from a run slash hike, which I've been trying to get more into the hiking side with a little bit lower impact. But I've been feeling great, and I think it's due to that somewhat, but a lot to do with some of the things we're going to talk about in this recovery video. Uh, First and foremost, what I think is really helping out is yoga, which is something that I used to do somewhat regularly, but have never done it as often as I've been doing it in recent weeks, and have not done it for a while up until then. Um, I'm trying to go like 4 to 5 times a week. A couple times I went six, but really good. Not gonna wear you out. Keep the core engaged. It's the only way I'll stretch, which is another good thing to bring up is group classes and things like that, where you're more likely to go to them and hold yourself accountable in that group setting. And for me, stretching is something I neglect a lot. Recovery in general can be, but every once in a while I'll foam roll by myself. But stretching has always been something that I'll do here or there for a minute or two, but it's not something that I have the discipline individually to focus on for 30 minutes or an hour. And going to a class is really I, neck problems and things like that, legs, tight legs. Not, I mean, they have gotten tight from workouts and runs, but going to yoga the next day and coming out feeling rejuvenated, which is something that foam rolling also does for me personally. But I highly recommend yoga for many reasons beyond stretching. Helps with the mental side of things and meditation, and gets you focusing on your breathing, which is something, especially while running, you need to be pretty aware of. And other activities in the recovery realm, in the active recovery realm, would be swimming, which is another different type of breathing where even if you're a solid runner and you have good cardio, the rhythm of swimming is a lot different than the rhythm of running, which is another thing that I try to do and probably don't do as much as I'd like. Swimming is great for recovery. It's very, very low impact and gets that breathing down, gets a different type of cardio in, and you have to learn a new rhythm. It's always good to change things up to mentally stimulate you and also not let your body get used to one thing, because at some point you're going to plateau and even digress. So constantly changing it up, and even on recovery days, just because it's a recovery day doesn't mean you do nothing and you just relax and watch football on Sundays or something. That's great too, but if on those days you could spend 30 minutes or an hour, but all it takes is 30 to do foam rolling or stretching or nice swim. You don't even have to swim. You could just get in the pool water and walk around. Even if it's only waist deep, you're taking a lot of the load from the weight of your legs off of your body. And I find that it helps with any tweaks and things of that nature to walk around under a lighter load, even for 10 minutes in the water. Another one would be massages. I try to do that. That can get a little pricey. That's not something that is as cheap. Each time you're going to pay 50, $60 for a nice quality massage, but you could do it once a month, play it by ear, and just do it as you need it. but massages would definitely has definitely helped me. You could self massage with things like foam rollers and such, but to be I've nearly fallen asleep a handful of times during even deep tissue massages just because it's so your body gets so relaxed. Which, to loop back around to foam rolling, that's something you can't rush through foam rolling. You need to pick a few body parts. Like if you want to do your quads, you need to allow like 10 minutes to those quads, because when you lay on that foam roller on your quads, no matter where at on the body, but say you're laying on the quads, the muscles tighten up. Out of protection of the body, it's going to tense up and try to protect it from this painful activity you're embarking on. So you need to really rest there, and even not roll back and forth right away. Just kind of rest on the quad for a few minutes and let it sink in, and you'll get into those deeper muscles. Otherwise, it's just real superficial and not nearly as beneficial. Ice baths or cryo is another great thing. I prefer cryo because ice baths are 20 minutes, 30 minutes of sitting in freezing cold water. So cryo you can do in 3 minutes, you know, fraction of the time. Uh, and I was just dealing with a little back tweak. I think I did it when I decided to go on a little ruck and I was running up and down hills and tweaked my back a little bit, tightened up the hamstrings a lot, both sides, and I went into a cryo chamber a few days ago, and it was phenomenal. One of the worst feeling going into it, and feeling the best coming out of it. It really showed. I've done it a few handfuls of times, but that was one of the times that really pointed out that it's definitely worth it. Again, kind of like the massaging, it's not self care. You have to pay for it. You go to an appointment. It's going to cost a little bit more out of pocket. But if you're trying to budget more, you can go to places like Tractor Supply. And that's where I think it's like I want to say it's a 150-gallon trough, like for horses or cattle to hold water in. But you could get one of those. I might be wrong about the 150 gallons. I want to say that's how much it cost about. I got it like a year or two ago, but I've used it, a few handful of times over winter. That one's tough because it's an outdoor activity unless you want to fill it up in the garage and figure out how to drain it that way, which I brainstormed and I tried to figure out. But it's just, that's what another benefit of cryo is. It's inside. It's real quick. It is negative like 200 degrees, but it does not feel that cold, and it's short and quick, and it's not outdoors during the winter. So that might be a time that you use cryos during the winter, and then summer, especially in Ridgecrest in the high desert, an ice bath might feel pretty nice. Hot tub and sauna is another good one, especially just sweating out. Just a good sweat is always good. Just making sure you stay hydrated after to replenish all that water you lost. The heat raises your heart rate. If you stay in there long enough, you'll feel your heart beating, and for me, I feel pulsating in the shoulders and such. That's great because you're not doing anything. You're just sitting there, and that's very low impact. So on days that you're just out of energy, not feeling a solid workout, maybe you take off from your regular workout, hit the sauna for 20-30 minutes. That's not a recommendation. That's what I do. But you raise the heart rate without having to really do much. And maybe you do a few squats in there. I like to stretch in there, not overstretch. Don't, nice, easy, gentle stretching, because your muscles and ligaments and tendons, all of it's more pliable with that heat. That's the theory of hot yoga, plus all the sweating raises the heart rate, all the good stuff. And you don't have to exert as much energy. You don't have to wear out the muscles. But one thing is, if you stay in the sauna or steam room for an extended period of time, really focus on hydrating while you're in there and the hours following throughout the day. Drink some water before you go to bed because I've gotten migraines and stuff from just being too dehydrated. Make sure you're hydrated before you go in. Elevation of limbs. So this is kind of all this kind of ties into the rice theory. Rest, ice, compress, elevate. That's pretty popular. We've probably all heard about it. It's what you do when you have an injury, when you roll an ankle, when you tweak a knee, what have you. But that can be applied for recovery at all times, even without a specific injury. Maybe something just feels a little off. It's not quite pain, but just getting ahead of the game is always nice. Like if you have a knee that flares up sometimes with some inflammation, or an ankle, or your shoulder, elbow, wrist, or even a finger, staying ahead of it's always good. Ice, rest it, ice, compress, and elevation is always good. One thing we did in yoga yesterday was legs to the wall. You're 90 degrees, your legs are straight up. And we stayed there for a few minutes, and I was thinking about that felt really good on the hamstrings and the lower back that was kind of acting up. And it's the whole blood flow thing, and you're elevating and getting that blood to circulate down. Low impact workouts are always good for an active recovery, which we've talked about. Swimming. Another good one would be hiking. Not too much in the bag. Don't be like me and overload yourself. And I was still functioning, but it's not fun. I felt great today, but last week I was not feeling so great. But low weighted hiking. Maybe you add a few pounds to your pack, but very low weight hiking. You're walking, you're going uphill. It's a fat burn activity. Your heart rate zone is in that fat burn zone. You're not in cardio. It may feel easy, but you are doing something. You're burning more calories than if you're just walking on flat ground, obviously. Something you could do for the weight that you add. Maybe you do a few extra water bottles in your backpack, and as you drink stay up on your hydration throughout your hike or workout, you drink some water, and that drops the load and throw your water bottle back in your bag, but now it's empty. I want to say a gallon of water weighs 9 pounds, 10 pounds. So if you got a few liters of water and you lose half of it throughout your hike, towards the end when you're tired and you're more susceptible to injury, you got less weight and you feel a lot stronger. But it burns a little bit more calories, having to do a little bit more work with a little bit more weight. It's all about being able to do something tomorrow or even later that day. You don't want to completely destroy yourself. Low intensity, low weight workouts is another one. Maybe for an active recovery day, you don't completely write it off. You don't just sit on the couch like we began talking about. You do your workout that you planned, but instead of doing your max deadlifts and your 5x5 deadlifts or your whatever it may be, we're on the subject of deadlifts, maybe you just do 135, 225 maybe, depending on where you're at in your weights. Just drop it down to 60%. If you normally do 405 deadlifts and you're just feeling like crud that day, maybe you drop it down to that 225 or 200 mark, and you just do a few sets there, and you stay in the lower weight ranges. And you still don't blow out with the reps, but you do a little bit higher reps than you intended on, and the workload stays at a similar rate, but you're not destroying your body. You're just doing that's a very active recovery. It would be when you stick with your workout, but just drop the weights or the resistance a little bit. Biking is another great one. I like being outside, especially on nice days like this. I like biking to work or around town to the store whenever I can. So I like doing that activity outside. But if you have a gym membership, they have a stationary bike. It's not as great. You're inside. It's not always fun being inside and just staying in one spot. But it's a little bit safer. You can zone out. Can't really zone out with cars flying by you. So that's a benefit of a stationary bike inside. I bought a little stationary stand a little while ago, like $30, $40, and you could throw any bike's back tire into it. It's a little louder than I expected, so it's hard to watch TV and do it. But rainy days, windy days, days that you just want to zone out and listen to music or a podcast, read a book, you can throw your road bike on there and pedal away. That kind of does it for, yeah, I think we covered everything. So just every time you feel like not doing a workout, consider active recovery. It keeps your momentum going. You do something that day, gets the blood flowing, gets the heart rate up, gets the blood flowing through the muscles, which is something that we make mistakes sometimes. We make excuses and we say, "Oh, I'm not going to work out today. I don't feel up to it. I may feel a little sick." Oh, that's a good one. Sauna and steam rooms. Sorry, the video cut out. What I was going to say as we wrap this video up is sauna and steam rooms for being sick, sinus infection, stuffy nose, common cold, whatever it may be, fever. Sauna and steam rooms, in my experience, are great, especially the steam room. It's like a humidifier on steroids. Try to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and it clears it right up as long as you hydrate afterwards. So that's a great one. And something else that I was getting to before the video cut out was we make the mistake of making an excuse on why not to work out that day. And a lot of times you end up, maybe it works out, maybe you feel better the next day, but sometimes you tighten up your body, whatever you're dealing with, it just gets worse because you didn't move blood through it. So doing those low impact active recovery things, get the blood moving through, because that's what repairs the muscle or whatever it may be, is blood, like getting fresh oxygen, fresh blood cells into the area, and getting that blood flowing through is essential to recovery and repair. So take some of these. Video went a little bit longer than I intended, so that's why it cut out. Have a great day, and I hope this helped in some way, shape, or form. And stay active.